Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to Shelf Stories. Jason here with a movie chat. I have watched last night Don't Look Up. This was a movie starring a bunch of famous people like Leo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Glenn Close. Really a who's who, a whole bunch of people. And it was an allegory of the climate crisis. On Netflix, you can go check it out on Netflix right now. A comet is headed towards Earth. The scientists have discovered it, and they're trying to get the word out. Only the government, the corporations, and society, and media are all resistant and all kind of not wanting to think about it and come up with all sorts of crazy, depressing and hilarious ways to not think about this impending disaster. So full spoiler thoughts here. So if you don't want to be spoiled in this movie at all, then you're good. Overall, I thought it was a mixed bag, but worth watching. So first of all, just kind of the movie being made. I'm thankful that the movie was made. Thankful that we found a way to kind of cut through our cloud, and with the direct satire with all the famous people, and now a lot of people are talking about the climate crisis in a way that is that's cutting through the noise. So then I'm going to call it the climate crisis. I call it the climate disruption. Climate change is a euphemism that was developed by the right wing to kind of blunt the effect of it. Climate change sounds nice. So did global warming. So global warming sounds nice. It matters what we call things. Calling it climate disruption, climate crisis actually highlights the scope of the problem. It's a problem that I've been studying and thinking about and reading about since the 90s. Since I was in college, Battle for Seattle, WTO, and George W. Bush, and oil, all that kind of stuff. The Iraq War a little bit later, for oil, and so this is the thing I've been looking at and seeing for a long, long time. So I just wanted to state my frustration at the level of the conversation. Also, as a psychotherapist, the single most nervous client that I've ever had. And I've had many, many nervous clients about, financial anxiety, foreclosure, and divorce, and all this kind of stuff. Getting people laid off of their jobs and everything. The most nervous client I've ever had was a climate scientist, because they are people that have been looking at the science for so long, and they see the inaction, and they see the way that we just kind of minimize the problems. And this person was legitimately looking at property in Iceland, or on some high place, because Iceland was going to turn into a green, a place that just like normal, where we are in temperate zones, in however long, like 50 or 100 years or whatever. So this is for reals, and the big thing has been just kind of like getting the conversation to the fore. So just on that level alone, I appreciated Don't Look Up. The action movie itself, I think it's been getting a lot of flack for being too shrill. The satire is too on point. You get hammered over the head with the idiocy of people in power, and I don't agree with that at all. I mean, it was satire. It was like pretty ridiculous, like on its face, but it's fine. It's there to get people's attention and draw people to the things that happen. That Bash Corporation kind of jutting in. And, well, this is a great solution, but, let's do this other solution that, profits us, win-win, this half measure. And the way that it was played, and like the cluelessness of the actor who played the head of Bash Corporation was great. The little subtleties, so like the lack of peer review. It's like, is this peer review? This idea of breaking up the meteor? No, we don't peer review anything. It's just like, that kind of thing really happens. And the idea that corporations, like, you have carbon offsets and carbon capture or whatever. It's like, let's do anything that we can to keep life going and keep the profits coming in. And like, just almost like greenwashing. You make a terrible practice look green by just, dressing it up a little bit. All that, fine. And the Veep-like presentation of the president and how ridiculous and silly and tribal our politics are. I mean, I'm down for all that. In a way, and this gets to my difficulty, I don't know if it was satire enough. because I thought there was a weakness in the main scientist characters. DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, they the way the movie portrayed them was a little too kind of like shrill and unbalanced, and that hasn't been the message from climate scientists. And obviously you're going to find your crackpots. You're going to find people who come on there and say, "Oh, the world's going to end in 10 years," and that's easy to dismiss. But looking like being familiar with the movement, there've been consistent voices, steady voices since the 70s, 90s. When I was studying, you had a chief of staff named John Sununu, who basically like shot down so many of the environmental pressure on something, and then he would just like, "Oh well, we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna do that," and that's just one tiny example. So you can go just for something to look up, and these are serious, steady voices, and the satire would have been stronger had the world rejected those steady voices, as opposed to seeing Dubinsky or whatever her name was just like scream into the camera, "We're all gonna die," or the DiCaprio character just kind of like being all like media unfriendly and nervous and everything. These weren't credible voices. The satires that we're rejecting credible voices. Not just voices backed by science, but like credible voices that are backed by science. We really are in, and I saw this as a tweet, we're in this era of, last century was the fuck around century, and this century is the find out century. We're really there. I'm going to go link an article that I just saw in Rolling Stone about a giant piece of Antarctic ice shelf that will break off in the next 5 years or so and cause massive flooding, and millions of people will die. And it's scary as hell to think about. But the idea being that like it's not just scary, that, and this is the part where I appreciated about the movie, that we have solutions. That, and the solutions mostly involve political action and organizing and getting our politicians to freaking do something. We have the technology, we have all this means, we just don't have the will. And so, the fact that there's going to be all this disruption and all this destruction, these are facts. And sober, serious people are saying those facts. It looks that much worse for us as a society that we're not doing anything about it. I'm honestly very worried that we're going to have a lot of death before we really get our asses in gear. Maybe we will, but there'll be a lot of human cost on the way to that. And I think that's ultimately the message of, one of the messages of the movie. I think the movie kind of leaned into just everybody dying and climate annihilation at the end of it. And will that happen? I think the more likely scenario is that that humans may kind of sort of figure it out, but there'll be a lot of death along the way. And that's the message that I'm kind of getting from folks. Again, I'm glad that the movie started the conversation. I'm recording about it. I'm still thinking about it day after. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please, if you've seen this movie, share your thoughts in the comments. There'll be a spoiler section, so hopefully people who haven't seen the movie and don't want spoilers don't stumble in. But I'm gonna keep my comments spoiler filled. Tell me what you thought about Don't Look Up. Shelf Stories I've done a little bit on climate stuff in the past, and I will like probably amp that up moving forward, because it does play into our little hobby as well. So looking forward to hearing from everybody. If you can change your mind, you can change the world. Until next time, everybody.